Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Marilyn, especially for those who are new in this platform. I'm the founder and CEO of Customized Training Solutions Private Limited, or CTS, and we brand ourselves as the most trusted training and business partner. And of course, we create programs and that adds value and impact to leaders for them to stay relevant, adaptable, to the next normal, and of course to ensure performance of a hybrid team. I believe that that's already like the new norm.
Obviously, there was a couple of articles and reactions against that when it started, but now it becomes like an accepted norm in the industry already.
Exactly, and that's also the reason why I'm doing business, because my ex-boss did not allow me to work from home back then.
Right.
So now I'm doing this business and I'm
Mm-hmm.
grateful for that.
Great, great.
Yes, and I mean, we've been doing this interview for the last probably almost 4 years, and it's interesting because we had this coffee conversation yesterday. And I told you this is the first time I'm going to do something that's recording, and I'm actually like face to face,
Right.
beside
First
side
time
by
we
side.
first time we met each other yesterday, right?
Exactly.
The impression I had on you is a screen version, but now let me pitch you in the flesh.
Exactly. So I'm really grateful that you accepted. This is basically a follow-up interview, because
Okay.
we have done an interview before. And when I checked the recording, it was in August 11 of 2021.
Was
Like,
it?
wow, I
Oh,
actually thought it was like a year ago. And I was surprised to know it was over 2 years since
yeah.
we actually did an
Time passes
interview.
by so fast, right?
Exactly. Right. So actually for this one, since I've already asked you the usual questions I do ask about leadership and transformation. So this time I would like to actually do like some sort of follow up.
Sure.
Yes. So I'm just curious to know. Oh, I forgot to introduce you. For everyone who's new to Francisco, I mean, he's one of the best and top thought leaders, not only in the Philippines, I would say globally and more. Maybe
Yeah.
in different universe next time. Just kidding. So he's also like an award-winning speaker. You do coaching as well.
I do, but
Exactly.
the coaching I do is strictly very niche,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more of an executive coaching,
Right.
which I don't publicize because I tend to respect the privacy of clients, and
Exactly.
they would prefer me that way.
True, true. And you're also an entrepreneur, a broadcaster, a columnist, author of in my list it says 24 books. Did
24 books, that's during the pandemic, but with three more books coming out now, it's
wow,
going to be about 30.
30.
Right,
Wow,
right.
congratulations. So thank you so much. And I look forward to reading my book. I
Thank
got
you.
the signed book already.
All right.
So I'm curious now. Again, I said that this is a follow up, and we had like several conversation and plans as
Mm-hmm.
well in the
Mm-hmm.
future to
Yes.
work together and collaborate. We have already done that twice,
Right.
and hopefully more.
Yeah.
More to come. So reflecting on our previous conversation, have you observed any changes, emerging trends? Because what I realized from the conversation we had, it's very foundational, it's very principle based, and I don't think it will change
Mm-hmm.
in at any time at all, at any point in time at all. So, but I'm curious to know if there are like emerging trends when it comes to leadership that you have observed since we had our conversation 2 years ago, because there's also a change now, like they call this time as a post pandemic, where
Right.
like
Right.
some people, some organization are actually generally going back to
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
previous
Going.
face to
That's
face.
true. That's true.
Exactly right.
That's
And
true.
so, and these changes that you will share with us, how does it impact
Mm-hmm.
businesses, especially in terms of the approach in the leadership?
Yes. when it comes to some solid principles of leadership, I mean, they don't really change over time. It's just a matter of where you put your emphasis on.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I've noticed is the post-pandemic world has tendered and rendered a lot of people being so sensitive, so tentative, so
True.
anxious. That since the people now feel like they are expecting a lot more understanding and empathy from their bosses. And is the demographic happening as well. And changes, you have to understand demographic changes from people who've been exposed to the to those who grew up and understanding that pandemics, just like any crisis, happens in life.
Mm-hmm.
So there's you have to have a repertoire of skills that you exercise in your leadership dependent on the demographics that you see. So before you take everything for granted, before
Mm-hmm.
it's, I'm the boss, you do what I say. I mean, it's some bosses are even so radical. It's either my
Mm-hmm.
way or the highway.
True.
But take a look at the situation right now. It has rendered a lot of leadership training framework becoming irrelevant.
True.
Today, the major change that I see is leadership skills now is a toolkit. You can a frame encapsulates and then captured you within boundaries. So, and now we ask people to be adaptive and flexible, but you keep them in the box, right? So that's why a framework is a frame that doesn't work. You got to have toolkits. You have to understand the critical leadership skills. You have to understand your demographics. You have to be you have to brush up on your communication skills because we are now dealing with a younger workforce that are so interconnected with each other but through technology.
True.
But face-to-face communications, they need a lot more improvement in that area. So that's just one of the myriad of changes that I've seen.
I really appreciate you sharing that with us. In fact, I have several conversations about challenge or focus around the multi-gener how do you lead a multi-generational workforce, right? And in the next 10 years we will have at least five generations working
Mhm.
together.
Correct.
And it's funny you mentioned that framework doesn't work because it's like about boxing.
Yes, that's
Like,
true.
and
That's
it
true.
doesn't happen because like
Right.
we're human, you're working with humans as a
Yes.
leader.
And you have to trace back. Why is it that people are so consumed with frameworks? Well, let me tell you why. Because we're still based on that industrial civilization model, wherein there is the factory assembly line methodology of hierarchy and bureaucracy
Mhm,
and department now. That's why everything was predictable,
mhm.
and you follow a frame and you won't get lost. Today, there's no hierarchy. There's very little hierarchy. There's
Mhm.
lean and mean organization.
Right.
There's a composition, as you said, a
Mhm.
different mixture of generational mindset that brings with them different behaviors and personalities
Mhm.
that renders leadership a little bit more challenging. We have to learn how to do it.
Exactly. It's really about looking into the situation
Mhm.
and handling that depending on the personalities of the people that you work with.
Correct.
And um, I really love when you also shared that gone are the days where like we follow the authoritarian kind of leadership, right?
Although amazingly, this is one thing you might want to see.
Mhm,
While in the corporate world, the authoritative means of
mhm,
leadership
mhm,
is waning and going out, governments, on the other hand, is
mhm,
rising up. This is the year with the most number of elections.
mhm,
And many elections now, they want to vote into power and office authoritative leaders. These are so that's that you see the dichotomy of different things, right?
mhm,
So there on the one hand, when it comes to leading the whole nation,
Mhm.
it looks like those who will win elections are authoritative with power. And when it comes to organizations and business, it doesn't work. They
Mhm.
want more consensual, more democratic,
Mhm.
and more situational leadership, which I would say is the best application. It depends on the situation, the context, the timing, and the
Mhm.
demographics to work right now. But you use brushways, and then you use authority, and you use your title as a hammer to get
Mhm.
people to do things. You're gonna lose good people.
Exactly, and that's the best way. I mean, for you to be able, I mean, leaders are always about influencing. It's always about um, taking care of your
Yeah.
people, right?
Well, the one most important thing that we have to consider is after all the billions of hits in Google, every time you place in leaders and leadership, you're gonna have 3.2 billion hits. Leadership is simply getting things done. It's as simple as that. How do we get things done by the people? But things are gonna get done, not by machines,
Mhm.
by the way, it is by people. So how do you get people to get things done? And the things that are needed to be done are shared goals that you and I will have to embark on. So it may sound simple and simplistic, but the role and the function of leadership is to get things done, right?
Yes,
So,
I agree to that.
and here's a thought you might want to think about.
Mhm.
Rather than just forcing your way to get people to do things, leadership now embarks on a modeling way, on empathy management, on effective communications. Therefore, leadership today is not all about positions. Leadership is a function. You know what a position is?
Mhm.
It's servanthood. It's serving. How can I serve you guys so that we can collectively do work together to attain our shared goals? In other words, the simplistic aspect is leadership is all about getting things done.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's interesting because I just had recently I had this recent conversation with Paul Lazo about leadership, and he said like I used to live in Italy, and one of the people that I've worked with actually says in his business card responsible.
Mm-hmm.
That's his title,
Mm-hmm.
responsible. It's all about ownership
Says
and,
a lot,
as
right?
you said,
Uh-huh.
getting things done,
Yeah,
right?
responsible carries with it accountability. It carries with it initiative.
Mhm.
It carries with it a sense of duty. Beautiful, huh? One word, but so profound.
Exactly.
Right.
And I really love that you've mentioned about leadership is about really building that toolkit
Hmm.
and being able to adapt to the
Right.
situations that
Right.
you are in as well. Because again, we're facing a very destructive um, era, I would say.
Hmm.
And there will a lot of things are evolving from market. And at the end of the day, leadership is basically what I said in my talk last night for accountants. Leadership is basically a life skill.
Yeah.
It's a human skill that
Hmm.
everyone has to know.
And by the way, we're just getting started. We haven't even mentioned two major alphabets, AI, right? So if you take a look at Davos, you take a look at World Economic Forum, AI dominates the whole conversation everywhere.
True.
So how does technology come into play with humaneness and the basic understanding of leadership that really matters?
Mhm. Yeah, and at the end of the day, that all the data that AI has
Mhm.
actually will come from humans as well.
And many people won't say this. Many people won't even admit it. Books, I haven't read a single book about it, but many senior leaders now are suffering from the early millennials call it FOMO, fear
Mm.
of missing out.
Mhm.
But many senior leaders now quietly are anxious and they're suffering from FOBO
Mhm.
or FOLO. So what is it? FOBO is the fear of being obsolete, and FOLO is the fear of looming obsolescence. So those are the struggles. Am I going to be replaced by AI? Are these younger people now more equipped because they're digital natives? Is everything that I have learned before in graduate school of business no longer count? I mean, these are the things that they have to understand that they're going through. They're having a difficult time as well. Yeah.
True, true. And that's very interesting. And that's why we're also here. If you would notice, I'm wearing this jacket from Modern Ads and by Miss Anna
I know, so,
Laksamana, right?
yeah,
And we're here together to actually collaborate, learn
yeah.
together, um, and um, and find out more how we can actually
Mhm,
create more impact as well,
mhm.
right? So but before that, I actually wanted to also share with them. I mean, this is not the first time we had a conversation or work together.
Yes.
And recently, because we've been talking about like changes and all those
Mhm,
stuff, right? And in the recent work that we do together,
mhm,
right, we act you talk about agility
mhm,
in the workplace,
mhm.
right? And we have to
Yes.
be agile enough to
Right.
be able to cope up with the situations and changes that we face, right?
Uh-huh.
So, can you give any specific example or a case where agility played a crucial role? And what lessons can our audience draw from that experience, especially in terms of leadership?
Agility now is a most common word, but how do you convert platitude into actual action? The one thing that a lot of speakers fail to address because maybe they're not right deep into the heart of doing business. Agility cannot operate without organizational development and changes as well. I mean, you have this framework of your organization, bureaucracy, and then you want people to be agile, yet they have to follow your framework. So there's got to be a cooperation between the two. Let me give you an example. This is a silly example, but long before all of this technology came into place, there's this casual Friday move. Why? Because you want people to feel free. You want people to break away from the starch, solid color work of a uniform
Mhm.
uh, corporate requirement, and to meet people outside the workplace, right? And yet here comes HR. And HR says, no, 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 you're not allowed because you have to wear all this uniform. That in itself offers a very big tension because you want people to be agile and to adapt to the changing times, and yet your systems and your policies are still there in place. So there's got to be a mutual understanding that, hey, the policies are not carved in stone. You have to cater also to provide agility and to provide a safe laboratory for people to be agile. And the fact here is that creativity will not come unless you give them a safe laboratory for experimentation. Yeah. So uh, sometimes people are not because they're not agile. And by the way, you lose creative people that way. The first people to go, "Ah, there's nothing I can do here. I mean, there's this set of dinosaurs over here want me to follow the old policies, so they leave. However, those who are remaining behind because they need a job, instead of being agile, they become fragile. So my challenge to leaders is how do you change fragility into agility, right? So you address the systems and you address the way you're leading your people as
Wow, that's really a beautiful message, and that's what leadership is all about,
well.
right?
Leadership is all about.
And we really need to be adaptable and agile enough as well. And of course, everything has to be in place, like what you've said, the policies, the systems.
Right.
It has to go as you evolve as a
Yes.
leader, as a team,
Yes.
as an organization. There has to be also like alignment with all the processes,
Right.
with the systems, with the policies, because you cannot
Yes.
just keep that.
So we've talked about the philosophy of leadership. We've talked about agility.
Mhm,
We've talked a little bit about technology.
mhm.
We haven't even talked about demographic changes as well. I mean, the demographic changes now is that the kids, the Gen Z and the younger millennials, grew up in a home environment wherein they were encouraged to speak up. Don't keep quiet, speak up. And now they enter they enter the workplace, and then the bosses are complaining, "How about these guys are so disrespectful?" I mean, that in itself entails a lot of adjustments. But
True.
my encouragement for leaders and business organizations is you got to understand one crucial thing: ideas are the currencies for the future. So how are you going to get back all those currencies if your people are so afraid to speak up? And so when the boss gets mad, how come you never spoke up? How are we going to fix that?
True, true. And that's the reason why it's very important for leaders not only to be open to feedback, ideas, but also to create a workplace with psychological safety,
Correct.
right? Because
Correct.
unless the people or the team are feel safe to bring in their ideas on the table,
Yeah, that's true.
creativity and like amazing ideas will be
Exactly.
kept a secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I mean we're going to the end of the conversation, and again I mentioned about like collaborating here, and here we are with the top 100 Filipinos on LinkedIn. And so I'm curious to know with we will be our theme for today is around leadership excellence in disruptive era, right? So how do you believe effective leadership can navigate challenges in the times of disruption?
But the first most important basic thinking and reminder for every leader is that you and I today have become perennial students. We just can't bank on our past accomplishments. We can be anxious and be fearful about what the future will happen. Now is the most important moment, and yet we have to invest in learning, asking questions, finding out research, and diligent the ability to connect the dots, to take a look at the macro level and then try to figure out, because you just can't follow a formula that is not cohesive and in context with your business, right? I mean, you may know a lot of things, but if it doesn't have anything to do with the core of your business, it's
Mhm.
useless anyway.
Mhm.
Maybe you can be a speaker, but you can't lead your team unless you understand these are the changes that are happening. I need to learn more and I need to get help. So one basic formula here is that in an age of perpetual disruption, leaders should be able to function themselves as to cultivate the mindset like they're
Mhm.
rookies, and then to be willing to learn and to be educated by people who are younger in their teams, and to not be afraid to ask questions from their peers, and then to benchmark also with other people from the other industries. That's why one of the most relatable concepts today is you have to collaborate with others. Co-opetition is very important. There are certain aspects where we can cooperate with each other, and then we still compete with one another, right? But for the basic important things, there should be unity in the most important things and learn from each other, because the old adage of for me to win, you've got to die. That's not gonna work. So we have to learn collaboration. We got to learning. We have to open space, let the younger people voice out their opinion. We have to continuously search and read and research. So these are the things that can make us become more equipped. Because the more materials you have, the more options you are able to adapt and tap on during the times of changes that may surprise us. So up there in your mind, you say, there's this article I read about this exactly that's happening. So maybe we can draw ideas here. So we have to become perpetual students.
Wow. True, true. I really love that final message of yours. And again, as a leader, and great leaders, in fact, are continuous learners, right?
So,
And of course, the key is to collaborate, whether it's within your organization or outside your
yeah,
collaboration. My business actually breathes
correct.
and functions in a way that I collaborate, and that's definitely a leverage for me because I can make use of my strengths. And even if I don't have all the resources I need now, I
Right,
can
right.
find people to connect with, to work with, and
Right.
leverage with them in terms of their strengths.
And that's also the beauty of LinkedIn Top Filipinos movement. That's why this community has to be able to help each other. My role here is to be able to perhaps mentor the younger ones and to provide exposure for them as well. Because as I keep on saying, there's just a lot of better and very equipped people who just need to do it. They don't have the exposure, right? So the top on that, I hope will collectively help each other strengthen the community in order to be a positive contribution to society as well.
Sure.
It's not something like a alphabet that you can include in your LinkedIn resume, top 100. What does that do? I mean, you have to actively participate and help out and then contribute.
Exactly. Despite that, I mean, definitely like being top or having awards will definitely help you with branding and all. But to make it sustainable again, the key is really
Correct.
to build community,
Correct.
to really create that inspiration
Mhm.
and impact to others.
Mhm.
And that's what we are here for in this world.
And that's also one thing we need to understand. In today's economy, you don't create your own brand.
Mhm.
It's your customers and their clients that create the brand for you. So you may put in as you are the top of the top and you are the best of the best. But if your customers and your clients don't believe in that, you just effectively created a disaster for your
For
own
yours.
artificial feigned expert brand that will make you just, you know, experience demise in the shortest possible.
True. I really appreciate that comment as well. And that's a great reminder for everyone who are building their brand and building their business. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been here for almost 10 years now.
Right.
And it's always a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And there's always so much to learn as well. And there's a lot of partnership that is
Correct.
yet to come.
Correct.
And so I really look forward to working with you again
Thank
and
you.
maybe bringing you in Singapore for the Filipino communities. Watch out for that.
Sure. I love the Singaporean noodles and the laksa and everything else. Yeah.
Talaga, when it comes to like Asians, Filipinos to be exact, we love food, right?
We,
That's
we
that's our weakness. Yeah, and we also wanted to invite our guests. We're coming up with um, a conference on
mm,
leadership, especially around leadership excellence in the disruptive world
yes,
or
yes.
era, where we will help them to like pay attention to what to prioritize. We
Good.
will be having like some workshops and talks that will really deal a lot with what are the things that you need to know and you
Mhm.
need to take note of
Yes.
in times like
And
this in an
the one
evolving
thing that
market.
makes me comfortable working with you is that I see your very delicate choices of the resource people. You don't just get speakers. Uh, maybe all you need to is to get microphones, right? But you get practitioners and experts who have something to share, and you really look out for resource people who are in the mission of sharing their ideas that can
Mhm.
enhance other people and help them. So, well, I'm very happy to be made a part of that conference that's going to come up.
So watch out for more information about the conference. We will be sharing that more of that in the future.
Yeah.
And yeah, we look forward to having you there. And thank you so much
Thank
for taking
you.
time to have this
My pleasure. My
conversation with
pleasure.
me.
Anytime.
I really love the follow up conversation, and I look forward to more
Thank you.
collaborations
Thank
with
you.
you. And I think my laptop got stuck.
Naghang pa siya.
Naghang na yata siya.
Oh.